Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, we're going to go in the way back machine and go back to deck number 1, Atraxa Superfriends. It is, War of the Spark has come out, and it has done a lot for Planeswalkers, and it occurred to me it has been well over a year since I've updated this deck, so I figure after War of the Spark, it's high time that we revisit this deck, and not a lot has changed, but a little bit has, so let's get into it. But before we do, I want to take this moment to shout out one of our patrons, Mr. Kirk Myers. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. If y'all would like to join Patreon, you can head on over to patreon.com/Cure for the Common Game. But let's get into it. Atraxa is everything but red, with a keyword soup there: Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, Lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step, Proliferate. You know, when I first saw Atraxa, I thought we would be getting one of those enchantments soon, you know, like you have an extra upkeep or you've got an extra attack step or whatever. I was thinking it was just a matter of time before you get an extra end step. Like you go through an end step and then another end step, which I'll admit this is probably the only card that would take advantage of that. And it's not like Atraxa needs help to be good, you know. Anyway, here's what I got. First, as per tradition, let's go through our mana fixing. Of course, I've got a Soul Ring. I mean, it doesn't help for Atraxa, but we got a lot of stuff that is, you know. But then, of course, I have the Ingot, the Relic, the Chromatic Lantern, and Astral Cornucopia. Now, I had something else in here. And about a year and a half ago when I last did the update for this deck, one of y'all commented, you know, try Astral Cornucopia because she proliferates. And I am telling you what, that definitely makes a difference. Especially when we get into a very specific Planeswalker later. You can cast this thing as a Dark Stealing, if you will. Oh, it's not indestructible, but, you know, for 3 mana for 1 counter on it, and then Atraxa can just proliferate it up to the magic number of 4. But we'll get to why later. I guess we can go ahead and do our Planeswalker helper cards before we get into our vast number of walkers here. Of course, the Chain Veil. This thing has gotten ridiculous since War of the Spark was even announced what it was. But Chain Veil, it's a good card. Now, Doubling Season, obviously, Standard's never going to see it again. This is Doubling Season's one of those cards that they made a long time ago. Rumor has it, Morrow says that he made it for himself because he wanted the card to exist. But they had no idea they were going to invent Planeswalkers at the time. But the way the rules work with Planeswalkers, they come into play and then they get the counter. So most of your walkers come into play ready to ultimate, if you will. And that's why Doubling Season is so insane. Got the Double Fish. I really wish I'd have picked up more of that precon. I really do. That was back in the days when I was just getting one of each, and now, I'm going a little more overboard than that. I'm only running 2 of the Oaths. Of course, Oath of Nissa, just mainly because you can spend mana or mana of any color to cast walkers. And then Oath of Jace, which I'll be honest with you, may not stick around. There are a lot of other cards. I do have some flex spots in this deck, and this is one. I just couldn't find something I liked better in the slot. I'm sure there is. Maybe I hadn't thought about it. But this is, we're going to call this slot number 1. Now, Call the Gatewatch. I got so many of these things because they're like a quarter. I think they're still like a quarter. But I thought, well, Call the Gatewatch is a very specific kind of name. And at the time, I thought, well, you know what? They're going to print walkers because that's kind of their characters. So I just got a bunch of them. And then Deploy the Gatewatch. It's not bad. And I love how this art from years ago, what is this, 3 years ago, that it's got Gideon and Lily fighting side by side. That warms the heart considering what we know now. So let's get into the walkers. First, we're going to start with Liliana Vess, of course. She's always been amazing. This is the very first version of her we got. Well, not this specific printing, but the first Liliana Planeswalker we got. Garruk Wildspeaker, the first Garruk Wildspeaker we got as well. The untapping 2 lands is just a monster thing. I don't know how this is going to look. Wow, it actually looks better on camera than it does in real life. It is. I don't know about these San Diego Comic-Con walkers. This is the only one I've got. I picked it up from, I believe, Q's Comics in Dexter, Missouri. So, but I've got it. They are kind of hardish to read, but it does help out your creatures and walkers. So that's why it just slotted in, replacing the other. And then of course running Ugin, because it doesn't matter what color mana you have with Ugin. I'm just going to roll through these pretty quick because there's a bunch. We have Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. We have Kiora, the Crashing Wave. Venser. Yep, I was able to get that one signed. Back up a little bit here. We have Jace, Architect of Thought. Tezzeret, Master of Metal. Vraska, the Unseen. Garruk, the Apex Predator, which rumor has it we're going to see him again. I think Morrow said in his panel this past week that he said, if your favorite walkers were not in War of the Spark, don't worry, we have plans for them. So here's hoping, Garruk. Maybe Garrick's the new bad guy now that Bolas is kind of not threatening. Elspeth, Original Ajani, Original Jace. I think I might actually have all of the Fab 5. The original 5 walkers. Maybe. Not sure. Of course, we have Elspeth, Sun's Champion. And we're going to do our best to focus here a little bit, because Elspeth is not wanting to focus up, is she? Here, let's see if we can't force it. Let's go. Oh, Gideon. There she is. Of course, we got Gideon Jura. Now, Gideon Champion of Justice gets a lot of flack for being like the bad Gideon, as it were. But this is the EDH Gideon right here, man. That's what I'm telling you. So, I add a loyalty to add more loyalty for each creature target opponent controls. How many token decks are in your meta? How many hardcore green stompy decks are in your meta? Yeah, that means he's probably going to die a lot. But there have been times when I have been able to cast Gideon and get him up to the 15 just right then. Not that I use the 15 a lot, because to be honest with you, once he gets up ridiculously large, I'll use that 0. Yeah, power toughness equal number of loyalty counters on him. And it still prevents all I love this Gideon in our format. Of course, we have Kaya, Nissa, the old green-white Ajani, and of course, new green-white Ajani. Had to put that one in there because of that, loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. So that's pretty sweet, especially, doubling season. It gets ridiculous. Sorin Grim Nemesis, OG Sorin. If you just absolutely positively have to put somebody at 10, that's the way to do it. Tammy, Original Tammy, Jace the Living Guild Pact, Ajani Mentor of Heroes, Original Dovin, and then New Dovin, Narset, Teferi, Little Teferi, not Big Teferi. I don't think I have a Big Teferi. And our last walker, I saved till last on purpose, Tezzeret the Seeker. Now, the reason why Tezzeret the Seeker is probably the best one in this deck, if you'll notice, I did not put in the new Tezzeret. There's just not enough artifacts in the deck to make it worthwhile. But this Tezzeret makes the thing tick, because you see, we are running the Chain Veil. You saw that. And Tezzeret just untaps the Chain Veil and your Astral Cornucopia. Because by that time, your Astral Cornucopia is tapping for 4 mana. So you tap the Cornucopia to pay for the Chain Veil, to do all your walkers again. Use Tezzeret to untap those 2 artifacts. Repeat ad nauseum. Yes, it is ridiculous. And normally, once you get that off, my play group will, everybody will look at their hands and go, yep, nope, I got nothing. That's it. That's game. Here, let's look at some of the others. Tefaldok and Orace, and because there's nothing cooler than just flashing in Planeswalkers. Now, granted, the mono blue Teferi from the what was that, Commander 14, I believe, that's awesome. But I only got one of those, and he's commanding his own deck, so that would be amazing to be able to flash it in. Maybe that Teferi is what I need for that flex spot for the Oath of Jace, possibly, so that I can essentially go off on somebody else's turn with my sorcery speed abilities. I'm running the Amulet of Vigor, not because we really need it so much, but, and I know we're not supposed to do this. I know we're not supposed to play a card to make other cards better or playable, but I do have, a non-zero amount of lands that come into play tapped. So Amulet of Vigor is another slot as I upgrade the land base. It's not terrible, but it's not exactly where I want it to be yet, so until I get there, I'll probably keep the Amulet in here. Demonic Tutor, just because it's it's one of the best tutors there is, right? Ghostly Prison is another flex spot because this does nothing for them attacking your Planeswalkers. I feel like as time goes on, maybe we'll get a propaganda Ghostly Prison that actually works for your walkers. How much would we pay for that, though? I mean, if it said creatures can attack you or your Planeswalker unless they pay 2, would we pay 4 for that? I don't know. Will we pay 3 and it be rare? Yeah, I would. I could bump it up from uncommon to rare. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Anyway, and I'm running the Elder Spell. Simply because, you know what? I am not above popping my own walkers to blow up a game-winning ultimate on one. And yeah, the Elder Spell is very conditional. In this style deck, maybe. But with the... Oh man, I almost said proliferation of walkers, but that's... with the abundance of Planeswalkers out there now, I feel like a lot of decks are... they may just run 1 or 2, but you know what? I feel like if you can Elder Spell just one opponent's, it's already Doomblade level and maybe a little better. I don't know. So let's look at our removal package. Now, this is quite lengthy here. And to be honest with you, some of these, it may be a little too much. I may be playing a little much here. I may can cut back 3 or 4 of them. Planar Outburst, Martial Coup, Merciless Eviction. Now, whoa. Merciless Eviction may not, it may not last too. This may be like slot number 3. Because people going through your deck and, or casting this from the top of your deck with a Tali or, playing it, well, it's hard to get upset at that because, if I sat down with it in my deck, I introduced it to the game. I was planning on using it. And, yeah. So, we got a Black Sun Zenith. Languish. Languish may not make the cut either. Wrath of God. Day of Judgment. In Garrick's Wake. There again, in Garrick's Wake, maybe just... It may be a card that may be what I should have took out for the Elder Spell. Now that I'm thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? It would certainly lower the mana cost of the deck. Which, by the way, this deck is on Archidect. The link is in the show notes. So, I don't know. Here again, I get a couple more walkers, maybe a little more war, maybe finding out something. But I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't play this deck a whole lot, but I might now because I don't know. Planeswalkers are cool, and everybody's blah about them. So I don't know. Maybe. Akroma's Vengeance. End hostilities. Terminus. Because, see, we only have one natural creature in the deck, and that's the double fish. So, Supreme Verdict. Here's another slot. Sublime Exaltation. It's 7 mana, wipe the board. 7 mana. But maybe not. I play in a lot of really big games, because a lot of times we'll play, and there'll be 6 players at the table. Well, you know what? That gets this thing down really cheap. And last but certainly not least, Larry Nevin's disc, because this is the way right here. It was made so long ago, before Planeswalkers existed, and if you'll notice, it destroys just artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. It doesn't touch your walkers, doesn't touch your lands. It's kind of the one-sided thing. Goes very, very well with that Amulet of Vigor. So it may be one of the all-star removal spells in the game. And that is it for the actual cards. I'm going to go through the land package here, because I know some of y'all like to see the land package. So we'll take a look at it. First, I've got the 5-color lands: Reflecting Pool, Forbidden Orchard. Y'all know what these do. I'm just going to go through them real quick. Rupture Spire. See, that's a land I could probably upgrade to something else. Exotic Orchard's amazing. City of Brass. Command Tower. Glacial Fortress. Caves of Koilos. Hinterland Harbor. I love Murmuring Bosk. And I think not enough people realize this is a forest, people. You can go and get this with Nature's Lore, or Nature's Lore type cards, and get 3 colors of mana out of it. Godless Shrine, Overgrown Tomb, Hollowed Fountain. Now, the Reliquary Tower, there are, 3 or 4 Jaces in the deck, so that's some card draw there. It's a 4-color deck, and that's hard to justify a colorless land. So this may also get the cut later on. Arcane Sanctum. I love those tri-lands. Of course, Evolving Wilds. Now, I'm running the Evolving Wilds. Don't freak out. And and the Terramorphic Expanse. Because I'm running, yeah, that's right, 1 of each basic. That's it. Oh, we're going to have to take some cards out because I still got some lands left. Okie dokie. Let's see what we got. Drowned Catacombs. Isochap. Stirring Wildwood. Sunken Hollow. Seaside Citadel. Thornwood Falls. Temple of Plenty. I'm naming them all off because I have had some people actually listen to the show, and they're like, Brian, say the words, man. So I do. I've noticed that I'm actually running quite a few temples: Malady, Deceit, Enlightenment, and Mystery, which I think, isn't that all the non-red ones? I don't know. Razorverge Thicket, Dark Slick Shores, Prairie Stream, and Hissing Quagmire. Oh, Hissing Quagmire, come on now. You're the last card. You got to focus. Well, that is what I have got for Atraxa Super Friends. What is this? Oh, this is version 3.0. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think, and I'm gonna have to get the deck out again and shuffle it up and go see how it does. But as for right now, I appreciate y'all watching. But it is time to shuffle and cut.